testing and conversion optimization. So just by way of hands, who in here even, had never heard of these two things before this summit? Okay, that's pretty good. Who had not heard of one of them? Okay, a few more. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is go in and obviously explain what these two things are before we really get into it. But what I want you to understand in this presentation is that this presentation is not about getting more website traffic. This presentation is about getting more from your current website traffic, right? So we want to get more out of what's already on your website. So the presentation I talked about earlier, inbound marketing, is how to get more leads coming in, more web traffic, all of that, and growing it. This is how do I squeeze more people through that funnel? How do I get more people through those calls to actions? So what is it? User testing and usability, and I apologize if my fonts are small, but user testing and usability, conversion optimization, it's scientific testing. We're not really going to talk about marketing and advertising as much as we are a scientific approach to this. So I want you guys to put on your thinking caps back when you were in school doing science projects, right? So we're going to be talking about things like hypotheses and testing and results and analysis, that sort of thing. So the definition of user testing and usability. Usability is a quality attribute that assesses how easy user interfaces are to use. The word usability also refers to methods for improving the ease of use during the design process through user testing, right? So the idea behind this is we want to make it as easy as possible for people to do the things that we want them to do, take the actions that we want them to take. It's defined by 5 quality components. Learnability. How easy is it for users to accomplish basic tasks the first time they encounter the design? The efficiency. Once users have learned the design, how quickly can they actually perform the tasks? Memorability. When a user comes back to the site after not using it for a little while, how easily can they reestablish this proficiency that they gained the first time they were there? Errors. How many errors do they encounter? How many mistakes, how many problems? How many times do they say, I can't find this, or, I'm looking for this, or I'm frustrated, right? And last, satisfaction. How happy are they when they get done? Was it a pleasant experience? Was it a horrible experience? That attributes that emotion to your brand. That attributes that emotion to your organization at that point. They get to the website, and it's a horrible experience for them. What do they think they're going to feel about your organization, right? So why is it important? Well, I just touched on it, and somebody earlier said it in a presentation, and I can't remember. I was like, I got to remember that so I can bring it back up again. But if a website is difficult to use, people leave, right? If the homepage fails to clearly state what a company offers and I don't understand it right away, then they leave. If users get lost on a website, they leave. If a website's information is hard to read or doesn't answer a user's key question, they leave. You guys see a pattern, right? There's no such thing as a user reading a website manual on how to use your website. And there are plenty of other websites out there, meaning that leaving is always the first line of defense when a user encounters difficulty. If you're not going to give it to them easy, somebody else is going to give it to them easy. They're going to find what they're looking for.
Yep. Ask you a question. You're taking these presentations for use on the web. So obviously you believe in the video.
Majorly. Video increases conversion rates, which we're talking about here, by about 50%.
Is that right? Okay.
People want to watch and consume the media that they're watching. They want to add visuals as well as audio to what's going on. That's why the team that was up here earlier, so you hear a radio ad as you're driving down the road, and then you see the billboard and you're like, man, that organization is everywhere, right? And the radio ad can get you emotionally involved, and then the billboard pushes you to the website or whatever it might be. They work in tandem together. So yeah, video is big. Definition of conversion optimization. In internet marketing, conversion optimization or conversion rate optimization, conversion rate optimization is the method of creating an experience for a website or landing page visitor with the goal of increasing the percentage of visitors that convert into customers, or in your case, some other specified action like donating, warranted by the owner. It's commonly referred to as CRO. So it's how many people as a percentage can we increase and push through the funnel, right? We want to get more donors donating. We have 1,000 visitors. Last week, 5 donated. I made a website change. This week, 7 donated out of 1,000. Great, we've upped the percentage of donors. We're optimizing for more conversions on the site. Why is it important? This is a math problem I put together, and it's geared more towards an e-commerce firm, but it's still relevant. If you guys are looking for donations, you can still apply this to you. So let's assume that you're spending $10,000 in marketing, and that drives a total of 25,000 people to your website. Okay? Every month you're spending 10 grand, and every month you're getting 25,000 visitors, and your conversion rate has always been 1%. So that's about 100 people donating, let's say, right? So what we're going to do is test a hypothesis that we come up with like 10 to 50% of the traffic. If we're really confident about the test, we're going to test with more. But we might test with less because we don't want to mess up. Maybe we have a good thing going. We don't want to mess that up, right? So we test with a small percentage of the traffic. And hey, on that new test that we did, we find that, given our previous example, out of 1,000 donors, now we get 7 or 8 rather than the 5 that we originally had, or whatever it might be. That increase, in this case, I said 1% on the original, 1.5% on the other. It's just 0.5%, right? But what can 0.5% mean? Well, in this math problem, if the average order value is $200 or the average donation is $200, and there's a 20% profit margin on this, or there's a 20%, you have 20% of your margin that goes towards reinvesting and growing your organization somehow, or 20% that goes back towards your mission, or whatever you might be using that 20% for, the new test page that has a 0.5% increased conversion is 125 more sales or donations, which is a 50% increase over the other. It's lowering marketing costs, if you looked at it from a percentage of revenue, from 20% to 13.3%. And it's $25,000 more in revenue, which is $10,175 more in profit. That's the 20% margin there, which actually pays for the entire marketing campaign you are already doing every month beforehand. So increasing your conversion rate through conversion optimization is going to increase your margins. It's going to lower your marketing cost as a percentage of sales. It's going to do all these wonderful things for the money that you're already spending or the traffic that you already have on your website. That's why it's so important. So imagine increasing those margins and then scaling it, right? Now you're doing really, really well. So the strategy, remember, it's science, it's not marketing. So we're going to approach it like a science project. So the strategy on here. Step 1 starts in this top corner. It says lift analysis. So we go through this process to be able to identify problem areas. And I'll go through some tools in a little bit to talk about what those problem areas might be. The second piece is the hypothesis creation. So maybe we found an area where we said, you know what? We seem to be losing a lot of visitors on this page. They're leaving, right? We talked about them leaving. They're leaving right here. What can we do to maybe make them not leave or go to the next step? So we come up with a hypothesis. Number 3 is to kind of map out that new funnel. So we had an old funnel and it wasn't working very well. Now we're going to map out the new funnel, whatever that step-by-step process is. 4, we have to design it. We have to make it look pretty, write the copy, the sales copy if we're going to change some of the wording. 5, we're going to design that new HTML page. 6, we're going to launch this test with a certain percentage of the traffic, like I mentioned before. And number 7, we're going to look at the results then to see, did it perform better or worse? In some cases, in the science project, the hypothesis doesn't hold up, right? It fails. But that's a win for you because you know what you're doing is working better than what you were planning on changing it to. And if you weren't testing it, you wouldn't know that, right? You would just throw it up. And in the grand scheme of things, 1 or 2 little donations here or there doesn't sound like a lot, but you saw in the math problem that as you scale, it can add up. And if you're not testing or tracking, sales may be down and you don't know why. You might think it's because of whatever political thing might be going on at the or a community thing, right? And then the process starts over and over again. So once you do it and you commit to what works, you don't stop, right? You just keep looking for, well, how can I improve it again? And you start another test, and you continue to get better and better and better at it. It really works. So Stetson University is a client of ours. I also went to the school there. I'm an alumni. And recently, in the last 6 months, we were running some tests for them. Did some usability testing and then ran some conversion optimization. And on the website, literally 44.66% improvement in requests for information by incoming students on the university. 44% more leads, right, for admissions. 19.93% increase in visits to the admissions application page. More students getting to the application to start filling the application out because of how their navigation was set up and what we did to make those changes. Charity cars, we talked about them a little bit. I've worked with Melissa on their account. 19.16% increase in visits to the donation form. They accept cars in and then they give cars out to people who need them. So 19% increase to getting people actually on that form page, which led to a 15.05% increase in actual car donations for them. Car donation to them is worth about $600 to $700 in value, so you understand what that means.
How were you able to track that the work that you all did was responsible for those increases?
It's all in analytics, and so what we've done is the user tests, right? We came up with the analysis of where the problems exist. We created the hypotheses, and then we created the test pages, split the traffic, and tracked which ones performed better. And after a certain amount of time, if it's consistently performing better, then we have a confidence factor that goes into play. And once that confidence factor hits a certain level, then we say, this is pretty good, it's holding true. Instead of sending only 10 or 20% traffic to this new result, we're going to send all the traffic to it now. And then we get rid of the old one. And then we start the process over again. So let's do this, right? It sounds great. Who wants to do this right now? Everybody wants to go home and do this. So ideas for testing. How easy is it to donate on my website? Be a great one to test, right? We want donations. What's the mobile experience like when visiting my site on a mobile device? Is it the same? Do people still, can they do the same actions that they were doing on the computer in the same manner, right? What does my demographic think of my competitors' websites? And how do we compare to them? You know, Sean talked about branding earlier and the importance of branding and how that aligns, all things being equal. If somebody doesn't know anything about your organization or the competitors, but they look at the two experiences and they think that this one looks more professional and credible, they're going to put their money there. Same thing goes for this. If it's easier to give the other guy money, they're going to give the other guy money, right? How easy is it? So I guess back on that last point, what I'm saying is you can actually run these tests, not the conversion test, but you can run usability testing on your competitors' sites and get insights on your competitors. So how easy is it for a donor to contact me or ask me a question? How easy is it for a volunteer to get involved if they wanted to get involved? Do web visitors understand what it is we do right away? Do they have to guess? Do they have to really read into it deeply? Or can I look at your page for about 5 seconds and get it? It goes back to the messaging thing, right? So tools for testing. I'm only going to talk about 3 in this presentation because we would overload you if we talked about all the tools that are available to do this type of thing. But these are 3 really good ones. The top one probably everybody in here has heard of. The other 2, I'm not sure how many of you have heard of this. Anybody heard of the other 2, VWO or usertesting.com? Just agency people, okay. So Google Analytics. How many, show of hands, have Google Analytics installed on your website currently? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So Google Analytics is free. Everybody can install it. Google loves when you install it. It's a little Google love you'll get from them, right, in the search engines. If you install it, you're giving them a lot of data about your site and the users that are on your site. So they love you for that. In doing so, it tells you so much about your company. Usertesting.com is a place that you can go and pay people. They have this huge database of opted-in people. You can tell them who you want out of your demographic, right? Who it is that fits that persona we talked about earlier, and ask them to have those people go to your website and perform tasks that you ask them to perform, and it'll record their voice, and they'll talk through the process. It records their screen, and they give you all that feedback on your site. It's like a focus group for websites that are within your demographic. It's good for creating hypotheses and testing these issues that we think we find, right? So we might look in Google Analytics, see where people are leaving our site, but we don't know why they're leaving, so we run tests with users to see how they experience it, to maybe get some more insights as to why they're leaving. Then we create a hypothesis that we're going to run for our science project. And we run our science projects through Visual Website Optimizer, which, much like HubSpot, is another one of those programs that you'll be able to use without a web developer sometimes. Some of the heavy lifting you have to do through a web development firm or an agency like ours. The program itself, though, is so easy in certain things that the coding is already on the site that you can just change the color of a button or swap out some text, just like you would a PowerPoint presentation or a Word document or something like that. So you can test different things like that. So first on Google Analytics, I'm just going to go through some of the screens in Google Analytics that I think are very helpful. So for those of you who already have analytics installed, you might want to go back and look at these screens, or talk to somebody in your organization about looking at these screens. For those of you who don't get it installed, look at these screens. I have something we'll talk about at the end of the presentation, but this is the behavior flow. I think it's one of the more underutilized screens on people's analytics. A lot of people look at their traffic, they look at how many visitors they're getting, but they don't really look at this behavior flow. And the behavior flow, what it's doing is showing you the biggest page here that has the most incoming traffic. And as you go through that page, this red is the drop-off. I'm losing people right here on this red dot. This is our site, by the way. So this is like, gosh, we have to figure that problem out, right? After that page, this shows the second page they go to. So where do they go to next in the funnel? So we're talking about funnels. And then I'm losing people on certain pages. These pages, as a secondary place, don't seem to lose a lot of people. It's a very thin red line. Obviously, the red line is going to get bigger as the more people get on that page. But you can also see that as you go further down the funnel, you lose less people, and that's because the more interactions somebody takes with you, the less likely it is they are to leave. They're actually having a good experience, right? So behavior flow is one place where you can kind of recognize, just with big red drop-offs, where you're losing people on your website. Now, it doesn't tell you why, but that's what user testing can do, right? So behavior flow. This is exit pages. So kind of a different way to look at the other. The other shows you the funnel, so you can see multiple interactions and where people drop off. This is just kind of real quick, down and dirty. You can organize this to see exactly like the page that has the highest percentage of people that leave, or the page that has the highest percentage of people that leave after taking a certain action, and you can filter through that. So exit pages. Because we don't want people to leave, right? We talked about usability. We don't want people to leave our site. More interactions are going to take, the better chance they're going to take whatever call to action, offer, or whatever it is that we have for them. Reverse goal path. So kind of back on that funnel that we talked about earlier on the behavior flow. This is kind of the reverse goal path. If you have goals and goal tracking set up, if you're tracking how many donations are actually coming through, which you can set up in Google Analytics, then it will show you the reverse path of people are taking before they commit to that action. So you can see what's really working, right, the best, and then kind of model other things off of that to get more of it. And then the last page I think I'm going to show you for today on this is the InPage Analytics. It literally pulls up a visual image of your website, and on it there's click maps where you can see the percentage of people. You can see how many people have clicked what areas and links on your site. So how I find this useful is when you're looking at a website and you have a navigation that has like 6 things in it, for example, and you see that the one in the middle has the highest percentage clicks on it, it's probably the most important to your website visitors. So why is it buried in the middle? Let's move it over to the far left somewhere, for example. Or if you see that there's a high percentage of clicks on something that's down below the fold on the page, maybe we want to move that up because probably more people would even click on it if it was moved up higher. So we'll get less people to leave if we're giving them the content they want easier, right? And this kind of gives you a visual display as to all the different places on your site and where people are clicking. So we kind of analyzed analytics, right? And we found where some problems may occur, but we don't know why they're occurring yet. We just know that we're losing people there or that they're not getting through the funnel that we want them to get through. So this is user testing. This is a real example from Stetson University. This is 10 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But what I want you to see is we're recording his... That's as far up as it goes, I think. Yeah. Here we're giving them tasks to complete, and it's recording their screen. And he's going to record and answer his, our questions verbally while he's trying to do the tasks.
That I can give them.
Perfect. Awesome. So we're going to watch just maybe 4 or 5 minutes of it, and you'll see how he goes through. You'll see some things he's like, oh, that was easy, and other things he gets frustrated.
Okay, the first thing I want to know is how advanced their programs are. Well, not really how advanced their programs are, but what kind of programs they offer. I'm interested in maths and science, so my question's academic based. So the first thing I want to know, courses offered. Try and find the answer. Academics. I immediately see a lot of information spring up. What I would prefer is when I click to academics, if only the academic drop-down bar would come down.
So that drop-down had answers for all those things all at the same time, and he was like, ugh, right? I don't want to see all that. It's overwhelming.
Here we go. It tells you if you can major, minor, or graduate in it. And I am looking for physics. Physics. You can major and minor in physics. That's my question solved. Fairly easy to find it. I just went to the first topic that seemed appropriate, academics. However, when I clicked it, I got that initial drop down, which was somewhat confusing.
This group was a group of parents we were testing. That was one of the personas, was parents, not just first-year students, but parents of incoming. So they had to have somebody in high school looking at college to participate in this.
So you see there's no immediate tab here that tells you about the site. Click admission, see where it takes us.
So didn't see it right away for tuition, right?
Okay, I've clicked admission, and I now get no affordability. So
sounds
let's
right.
find out, again, this kind of general thing is not too great. Let's have a look here, the net price calculator.
Sounds
So
right. If I'm looking for price, net price calculator.
Page, a little laggy, a little slow, but okay, not too bad. So let's use their net price calculator. Let's click get started. Okay. Okay. Well, this net price calculator wants documentation. I don't want to give it my documentation. This is financial aid. Let's just see what happens after it gets started. I just want to know how much it costs.
And the one thing these guys can't do is leave because they're taking a test for us, right? So they get really frustrated when they get frustrated, which is good. Most people would leave before they get that frustrated.
I'm surprised that
There we go.
instead of using those massive drop-down boxes, there's not a decision tree.
Well, it's changing now. So he really wants to find the price. So he's trying to go through this process to find the price, right? Like this is what he thinks. I'll tell you the secret. Price doesn't exist in this thing. So he's trying to go through it right now, and he's not going to even get through it to begin with, let alone find the price.
Because there are a lot of variables.
Well, not just that, but this is to like really kind of calculate your specific price, and he's not ready to do that. He just wants to know tuition. Like, give me general tuition, you know? Yeah, he's in the early process of that buying phase. He's not down here on the far end. This is a tool for the far end process.
There could be an estimator. There could be a simple estimator.
That's right. This just doesn't happen to be that tool. Some crazy important message from the website.
Hispanic marriage file list and knobs. Are you a direct relative? Wisconsin graduate for this graduate?
So I can see some people are like starting to fall asleep. Just want tuition.
Didn't click properly. You see, I'm not comfortable with this kind of information.
He's done at this point. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore.
When I just wanted to find out price.
Well, no. See that?
Excuse me,
See,
HTTPS.
it says leave page.
I forgive that.
That's what he's doing. He's like trying to get out now. And it says leave page. That's what the first thing people do when they get frustrated. It's no joke.
Can I go academic programs?
So he's going to go back and try it again because this is a test and we gave him a challenge, but he's frustrated. So we went back to where he was to see if he can find it now. He started over.
Some laptops get broken.
I see lots of facts. No prices again.
No prices again.
I'm actually finding it quite difficult to get information on prices from this university website.
Back to the home
Sorry about
page.
you.
He's all the way back at home now. Giant drop down. It actually says tuition hidden in one of these over here, but he can't see it because there's so much on the menu.
It's difficult to find information about pricing. Something you really think would be more available. Now this is affordability.
And he's under affordability, but it doesn't say anything about pricing. First year students. Wait, that's probably it. First year students.
Again, it wants all this extra information rather than just giving me the price for a first year student.
Clicks on first year students in the column there, and it takes him to the same page he's already on.
I go apply.
Apply. Maybe it's there. First year student application. So now he's on the application. So
Again, no information.
again, no information.
I'm annoyed now. Into the website.
All right.
Because something that should be so easy, finding prices, is not. It's cumbersome and difficult. There isn't a prospectus, so I can't just go and look. It's going.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it. So you can see this guy's getting really frustrated with this. What's really funny is he gives up. He goes on to the next task, and 2 minutes later, doing the other task, he runs across it. And he's like, oh, I found tuition and fees. But he would have left a long, long time ago if he wasn't taking this test. And that's what I wanted to show in this video here.
You'd be a Harvard grad by now.
Yeah. So that was the problem going on their site. And nobody knew it. And everybody that was looking at the analytics in the marketing department, their marketing department's great. Everybody over there looking at it, though, is like, well, people are getting there. People are getting to the page. Because, yeah, some people were getting there. But it doesn't mean that everybody's getting there. And it doesn't mean that, it's the best possible path for the highest amount of people that we can possibly get there. And so testing is important. Visual Website Optimizer. So I'm going to play this video, but this is essentially that testing software that does the testing that we talked about that will A/B test our hypothesis versus the other, right? So we just realized there was a lot of problems with tuition fees. So one of the things we did with Stetson specifically was we put, for the application, which got such a raise, believe it or not, on the home page, there was no link for application. So we put apply now in the upper right-hand corner. It's like, wow, You know, these kinds of things. Give now, we put that up there. Tuition and fees, we made one of the top links because it was the most sought after thing. Most searches were happening on their site for it. Most sought after thing under that affordability column and on the admissions page. So it's front and center now. No problem finding it. So I'll show you this video.
Tweak, optimize, and personalize your website without help from IT. Trying to increase sales and conversions on your website can be a hassle. You can either modify the code yourself or chase down a developer, and then try to figure out how to measure the results. VWO lets you quickly identify, create, and test changes to your website without touching a single line of code. We give you over 100 optimization features and a proven, repeatable process so you can make continuous improvements week after week. Start by adding a single snippet of tracking code to your site. Then, research potential changes using heat maps, website reviews by real people, and our library of tried and true testing ideas. When you're ready, point and click to swap a headline. Add an image. Try a new button, or test just about anything. Once your new pages are live, we'll run the tests and provide intuitive, real-time reports that show you what's working and what's not. You can even personalize what your visitors see based on where they're from or how they view your website. Best of all, our enterprise-ready infrastructure won't slow down your website. VWO has helped thousands of customers, including GetResponse, who increased signups by a staggering 158%. What could you test? Sign up for your free trial or request a demo today.
So they make it look super easy in the video. It is super easy. There are some things, though, that if you have some complicated forms or database integrations, that sometimes take a developer to get involved. But the process is the same, and the reality is that it works. And when you apply these techniques, you will see the increase in difference. Even if your first test fails, because your first test failing just means that, okay, we're not going to go that direction, we're going to try this direction. And you eventually are going to gain traction, and you're going to find an increase. This fits into anything. It's just a line of code. You can put it into any website. Doesn't matter. So quick review. Google Analytics, kind of identify where some problem areas might be. Use user testing to get your real users who fit your demographic actually testing where those problem areas are so that you can come to some realizations like we did with Stetson there. And then Visual Website Optimizer to go through and actually test those hypotheses and track the results and make the changes to see if we have a lift or if we need to go back to the drawing board and start our science project all over again.
Is VWO?
That goes to more money. VWO is a monthly cost. So it's a monthly subscription to their software. User testing is kind of a per user cost, and Google Analytics is free. Questions? No questions? Awesome. I mean, that means, right, the people that didn't know about what it was before now feel like they're experts.
Well, if you had to pick one, and you did the Googleomics behind all of this, what would you pick?
What do you mean do one?
Well, if you were to do either Google Analytics or virtual web.
Well, Google Analytics is free, so there's no reason you shouldn't be doing that, right? That just helps you kind of identify what's going on with your website. It helps you with search engine optimization. A lot of other things besides what we're doing here, it helps you do as well. I would do user testing before you do conversion rate optimization because you'll recognize things that you'd be like, oh my gosh, well, I knew how to do it. I thought everybody did. And that's never the case. If you're the one who builds your website, you know how to navigate your website. You know where all that content lives. You built it, right? You're on it every day in your organization. So user testing. It's also probably they're both inexpensive tools though. I mean, user testing is like $50 to $100 a person. The other one I think is $150 a month $200 a month, something like that. So if you're increasing, a percentage of your donations through that, more than likely you're going to pay for that cost rather quickly.
And all those reports get sent back to whoever built up the website, right?
To finalize the changes, you mean? Yes. So like if you put a test through Virtual Website Optimizer that's not a hard-coded program test, like you change the button color, it's really just doing it via JavaScript, so it's temporary for the test. And then if it really works, you have to tell your developer, okay, we want you to change that color permanently to blue, for example, because we get a lift in conversions or whatever it is. Change that image or...
We'll talk about it. You're going to be discussing this with Florida Hospital real soon, right?
I mean, I hope so. So just for you, if you don't have Google Analytics in here, the offer is we'll set it up for you. It doesn't take a lot on our part because we do it all the time. So we'll set it up for you so that you guys have data to actually start looking at and working with. If you do, then we'll look at it. We'll kind of go through some of those screens, and we'll give you 3 to 5 ideas to take home and go test. And again, there's my contact info at the bottom of the screen. So that's it. Thank you very much.